So I was just walking through the supermarket when I saw the front page of Britain's daily communist newspaper, The Morning Star, and the main headline was "Women Will Rise," and this is the article that we're looking at today. Black women will lead a march through London today to remember the victims of male violence and call out state failures to tackle the crises of misogyny and racism in society. It's like women and children first. You put misogyny and racism together, maybe you can trick people into thinking that women and black people are in the same position in society. Also, not all victims of violence, male violence or otherwise, end up dead, so I don't know why we're remembering them. Thousands are expected to join the Million Women Rise March. I suppose they couldn't get to 1 million. Held annually on March the 4th ahead of International Women's Day from Oxford Street to Trafalgar Square. The only women event, that's illegal discrimination in itself. There was a case over an all-women fundraising event for Cancer Research UK, so that is explicitly illegal, which began in 2007, calls for an end to the individual and institutionalised male violence against women worldwide. There won't be an effort to establish that this actually exists. Organisers said the march was taking place this year at a time when state failings are leaving women exposed to male violence, including a series of high-profile cases involving police officers. Now, the only one I can think of is the Sarah Everard case, which was nearly 2 years ago now. They will highlight the horrific case of Metropolitan Police Officer David Carrick, who kept his job in the force despite multiple complaints, allowing him to commit more than 80 sexual offences over 20 years. Of course, the head of the Metropolitan Police for most of that time has been a woman. Women will also highlight, just women in general, highlight the case of black girl child Q, who was strip-searched by police at her school while on her period. Okay, that's a serious case, but also there are far more restrictive rules for strip-searching women, both by the police and even in prisons, than there are for strip-searching men. So, beyond even more special protections, I don't know what they want done about this. Because these complaints are about the police, but the actual efforts to do reforms are all aimed at giving more power to the police, just power that's meant to be used against men. Million Women Rise founder Sabrina Qureshi said, "Violence against women is widespread in our society, yet none of our political leaders are willing to truly take this on." Of course, however widespread you think violence against women is in our society, violence against men is considerably more widespread, and you won't find any political leaders talking about that, whereas they really rarely shut up about violence against women. Structural and everyday racism mean black women and children are not believed or protected when we need help. Man, wait until you hear what the police do to black men. How many more women and girls have to be harmed, raped and murdered before it is recognised as the crisis that it is? Latest official figures showed 198 women were killed, almost all by men, in the 12 months to the end of March last year, a rise of 24% compared to the previous year. Well, if you want to fight violent crime, then you need to fight the violent crime that's actually happening, and 198 is far lower than the number of men murdered, which will be well over twice that number. And almost all by men, well maybe, I don't know, they haven't given specific figures there. But black people, poor people, young people, as well as men, are more likely to commit violent crimes. Normally we recognise that as meaning that violent crime is not a sign that you're from a privileged group, but rather a disadvantaged group, but that becomes different when we're talking about men. A third were killed by their partner or former partner, don't really know why that's relevant. At the march, when we'll also condemn the police sharing photos on WhatsApp of the bodies of sisters Nicole Smallman and Biba Henry, who were killed in a West London park in June 2020. Yeah, that was another serious case. Those police were in fact dismissed, and that's another case from 3 years ago. So some people did a bad thing, but normally when we're talking political activism, we're talking about changing things about the system. As the system did in fact punish the guilty in this case, I'm not entirely sure what these women, as it says, are actually asking for in that case. Their mother, Mina Smallman, is among those expected to address the rally today via a video link. She said, "When women rise up and make a stand, there's no stopping us. Women are saying it's time." Although, I mean, they're sort of just asking men to do things for them here, right? Like, this is all about male violence. This isn't about women standing up for themselves. This is about trying to police men. And the event focuses on black women and girls and those from the global south, as they are less often reported on and less likely to receive justice when wronged, the organisers added. Well, I suppose it makes a difference from the missing white woman syndrome, and yeah, they're less likely to be reported in the West, because they're far away. Makes you wonder why they're doing this protest in London instead of Lagos, really. Michelle Daly, another member of the network, said, "We rise because we are against decisions, policies and practices that repeatedly contribute to the deaths and harm of women and girls, through neglect, trauma and violence." But are they though? Because all of the examples in this article are just bad things that happened. Bad things maybe that an individual did. Bad things maybe that a woman did in the case of the head of the Metropolitan Police, but they're not actually calling for any sort of systemic change here. Miss Qureshi added that the event was aimed at providing a space where no woman or girl is forgotten. Although I'd be curious what would happen if you turned up to an event for women from the Third World and Global South and had some trans women with you. I feel like that would be inflammatory. The march begins at 1:15 on March the 4th, obviously that's gone by now, at Duke Street. And then buy shares. The communist newspaper is trying to float on the stock market or something. This is very disappointing. This whole article is making me think communism might not be a great idea. And I'm very left-wing, but I'm glad I'm not a Morning Star reader, and I'm definitely glad that I'm not a shareholder.